So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of ZGN Talks, and today we will be talking about the 4 money mistakes that we made as teenagers. So before we dive into this video, we would really appreciate it if you smash the like button. It helps out a lot with the algorithm in this channel. So one of the main things that we regret not doing as teenagers is not learning enough about credit, because when you go to school or you talk to adults and you ask them about credit, they may not be too fond of it. But what you fail to understand is that credit essentially is free money, because instead of spending cash in your bank account or physical cash at home to buy goods, services, any sort of products, why not use credit? Because you're spending money that you would originally be spending using credit, and what credit gives you is free points. Now, say for example, you spend $100 and get 2% cash back. Well, you just made yourself a free $2. And while that not might sound like a lot, over the course of a few years, that amount builds up. On top of that, say for example, a certain credit card has an intro offer in which you spend $3,000 and you get $500 back. Well, now say for example, you have monthly expenses, or every 2 to 3 months, you spend a total of $3,000, whether it's rent, food, other goods and services combined, and you just spent $3,000. Well, you just made yourself back $500, which you would not have made originally if you were using cash. So that is one of the first things that we really regret doing, which is not learning enough about credit cards. And on top of that, learning about credit and how to leverage credit cards saves you a lot of money long term, because say for example, you're applying for a certain auto loan or a home loan. Well, then your interest rate will be dependent based off your credit history and how good your FICO score is, because banks often look at that, and the longer credit history you have, the more cards you have with proof that you actually pay them off all in time, your utilization stays below 30%, all of these different aspects are in check, well then you will have to pay much less interest, which over the course of your life could save you multiple 6 or even 7 figures in interest payments. So remember, no matter how young you are, start learning about credit, because a lot of it schools simply will not teach you.
Now, the second money mistake Mitch and I made in our teens was we spent too much of our time working. Now, well, this may sound kind of counterintuitive at first, like, oh, money mistake is you spent too much time working. You know, if you think about this more deeply, if you're working 24/7 doing the same exact job, you're probably not going to move forward in your career as fast if you took some of that time and invested in learning new skills. Now, Mitch and I didn't necessarily work for anybody in our young teens. We did run a business, and, applying this to business, essentially what we're doing is we're working 24/7 in our business, and, we're working in our business and not on it. So after a while working in our business, we decide, hey, we should hire out people to do this, this, and this for us instead of, doing everything ourselves. So what you can really take away from all this is, you shouldn't, when you're young and when you're a teen, you shouldn't just be focused on making money, because a lot of the times what you can do is you can step back, learn a new skill, and then come back and make even more money than you are right now.
Now, another thing that we messed up with a lot is we were eating out way too much, and I was probably eating out around 4 times per week, and my average meal cost $12, which equated to around $48 per week times 52. I don't know that number from the top of my head, but I could assume that that money could have much better be spent elsewhere. And by constantly doing that, that leads you to doing other habits that aren't the best. So if you start eating out consistently too much, well, you may start doing other things consistently outside of eating out, such as buying clothes that you don't need, or trying to buy other stuff to impress people that you don't really need or care about. And just building up these habits forces you to pretty much start wasting so much money that, again, could be put somewhere else, because say for example $48, or just with everything combined, say you're spending an extra $100 per week, which over the course of a year is $5,200. Well, what if you put that $5,200 into starting a new business, or putting it into the market, or for example traveling, networking, and meeting other people, and actually putting new experiences under your belt? Now, I'm not saying cut all of that stuff out. You need to know how to stay in check. You need to know how to limit and keep your desires in check, because if you constantly just throw money at a wall doing whatever you want, well, you're just going to end up wasting a lot of money, and long term, that habit is only going to get worse. So what I'd say you do is learn how to cook. I'm not the best cook. Emiliano loves cooking, so he cooks a lot, and that forces us to save a lot of money. But before that, me eating out made me spend a lot of money elsewhere, which over time just wasn't the best decision long term. And I learned that all of this money I could, again, be putting somewhere elsewhere that could actually bring me a return on the money that I put in.
Now, the last and most critical money mistake that Mitch and I made in our teens was spending time around the wrong sorts of people. So a lot of you out there may or may not have heard this type of philosophy, But there's a common philosophy out that the 5 people you most surround yourself with, you start to become like. And, when you're a teen, the people around you have a lot of influence. So if you're hanging out with people that are constantly, skipping school, aren't focused on their future and, just aren't focused on where they're going in life, you're going to kind of end up like them. So when you're a teen, what you should be doing, you should really be focusing on, where you want your future to be. Even if you don't know where it is, you should be, keeping your opportunities open. And you really should be surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals. And you really should be focused on who brings you value. Now, what do you mean by this? Value, in a sense, is, what you get out of hanging out with that person. For instance, if you hang out with someone that, loves to study in high school, you're going to probably like to study or maybe study with them as well. Or if you hang out with someone that only likes to eat really good food, you're going to end up eating more healthy. So when you're deciding who you want to surround yourself with, what you really have to take into account is, does this person benefit my future? And does this person make me a better person? And if not, these people that you surround yourself with can really lead you to a really detrimental future and, possibly even create habits that cost you a lot of money down the road.
So yeah, guys, we hope you enjoyed this video. That pretty much wraps it up. Again, take into account everything we mentioned and actually apply it. And while you may choose not to, you'll really regret it long-term, maybe 2, 3, even 5, 10 years from now, not taking action on what we spoke about today. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe, comment below what you thought about the video. Again, our Instagrams are down in the description below. If you want to network with us, communicate, or have any sort of questions, feel free to DM us. And yeah, again, we hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Adios.